In the heart of an ancient kingdom, surrounded by verdant hills and sprawling savannas, there lived a brilliant young prince named Kofi. His laughter echoed through the grand halls of the royal palace, yet beneath his charming demeanor lay a heart burdened by expectations and the weight of his lineage. The people admired him for his strength and wisdom, but they did not see the loneliness that lingered in his eyes. I learned of their love not through whispers, but through the quiet resilience of their actions. I, Amani, a humble storyteller in our village, had the privilege of observing this tale unfold. The sun-drenched land we inhabited was vibrant with tales, some told, some unspoken. Among them, none was more poignant than that of Prince Kofi and the orphan girl, Zuri. Zuri had wandered into our village one fateful day, a fragile figure with wild curls and penetrating eyes, as radiant as the stars that twinkle in the night sky. She had arrived with no family, no history, just a threadbare dress that spoke of hardships and a spirit that refused to be tamed. The villagers were initially wary. We had seen too many misfortunes sweep through our home like a summer storm. Yet, there was an unexplainable magic about her, an aura that drew people in. Kofi met Zuri by chance, a moment crafted by fate itself. He had snuck away from the palace, yearning for an escape from the suffocating royal duties, and found her by a serene riverbank, her hands dancing through the water as she drew patterns in the sand. The sight stole his breath. He had never encountered such unfiltered joy, a rawness untouched by the complexities of court life. From that moment, they became inseparable. Each day after, Kofi would visit the riverbank, bringing with him fruits and flowers, playing games that made Zuri laugh, a sound that echoed warmly in my heart. They spoke of simple dreams, where the boundaries of royal and commoner faded into the backdrop. They shared their fears, aspirations, and the kindness that threaded their souls together. But underneath their laughter, storms brewed. The kingdom had not yet healed from the loss of Kofi's father, who had perished in battle, leaving the throne vulnerable. His mother, the queen, was determined to see her son wed to a noblewoman, someone who could secure alliances and strengthen their rule. Zuri was merely an orphan, a nobody in the eyes of the court, and the queen's watchful eyes were ever present. One afternoon, while I was weaving a basket near the river, I overheard their whispered conversation, a moment that would forever etch itself into my memory. I am destined for greatness, but it feels like a cage, Kofi confessed, his voice heavy with sorrow. You are my heart, Zuri. Yet I fear what happens when the walls of my duty close in on us. Zuri, with her fierce spirit, had replied, Then break those walls, Kofi. Love is not meant to be confined. We must challenge the chains that bind us. It was a daring proclamation, one that carried hope, but also danger. I felt the air shift around us, charged with the weight of their unyielding affection. Days after days of seeing each other, words secretly reached the queen's ears concerning her son's love life with an orphan. She couldn't tolerate the sight of it. Little do we know the queen had it all planned out. As usual, the prince went to visit Zuri at the riverbank. After several careful searches without seeing any sign of her, he went home heartbroken. She never mentioned to me she would be going anywhere, the prince whispered underneath. This goes on and on for almost a week without Kofi having to see or speak with Zuri. He sat down in his room all day without coming out or talking to anybody. The queen tried to make him forget about Zuri by telling him she wasn't the right one for him. Kofi wasn't convinced with his mother's words. What he had for Zuri wasn't just a drama. Their bond was really strong. Kofi knew something was wrong. Zuri would not disappear like that without leaving a word or saying goodbye. One calm evening with a little sunset, Kofi went on a walk without any guard. He walked down to the riverbank where he had met Zuri. He felt that was a better place than the palace. On his way down this narrow bush track, he met Kakra, the village's notorious drinker. He stopped Kofi on his way to the riverbank. Been weeks since I saw you. Thought it would be your last, Kakra said to the prince. Kofi wasn't ready for his usual drama. He ignored and passed by. All Zuri did was to love you. She never deserved any of these. He shouted so the prince could hear him. On hearing this, Kofi paused the moment he heard Zuri's name. He came back to Kakra. We all know Kakra for his usual silly jokes, but that didn't sound like a joke. What happened to my love, Zuri? The prince asked. Is it fair for the poor not to find true love? Kakra asked, sounding sad. Many people admired the prince and Zuri's love. It was inspirational to many. Kofi was confused by his questions and urged to ask further. Kakra told the prince that the queen, his mother, got Zuri arrested and locked up. She was going to banish her from the village tomorrow morning. Kofi was very furious at this moment. Without listening any further, he fled off to the palace. He sat in his room and planned on how to set Zuri free. I brought this to you, Zuri, he said to himself in his room. Hang in there for me. I'm coming to get you, he added. It's Zuri's banished day declaration. As early as before the clouds could go bright, Kofi escaped the palace prison with Zuri. The queen sent the palace guards on them as the news of their escape reached her ears. The palace guards got to them and brought them back to the palace that morning. I saw the anguish in Kofi's eyes as he was confronted with the unavoidable choice: abandon Zuri and step into the life prescribed for him, or defy the lineage that had paved his path. In a twist of fate, the day Zuri's was supposed to be banished was also the day the queen had arranged for a grand ball, intending to unveil a wife for Kofi among the noble families. The palace shimmered with opulence, the air thick with perfumed intrigue. Kofi was taken inside to get dressed in his royal robes. As Kofi stood in the midst of the lavish celebrations, his heart was torn. He saw Zuri, awaiting him in a modest dress along the outskirts, her gaze steady and unwavering. In that defining moment, Kofi made a choice that would resonate beyond the walls of the palace, a choice I would recount for years. He stepped away from the festivities, breaking through the crowd that cheered for courtly perfection, longing for the simple truth he had discovered by the river. He approached Zuri, whose face lit up with both fear and hope. In this moment, I choose you, Zuri, he declared, his voice strong and clear. The revelry dulled, and all eyes turned to them, gasping in disbelief. For love is the greatest kingdom, and you reign in my heart. The uproar from the crowd was tumultuous. Some gasped in shock, while others murmured admiration. The queen's expression was one of incredulity, but the fire in Kofi's eyes was unyielding. He held Zuri's hand, a testament to their love and collective bravery. In that moment, I felt a surge of hope, though it mingled with uncertainty. Kofi was defying not just a tradition, but a legacy steeped in expectations. Would the kingdom accept this union? Would the queen ever allow her son to marry an orphan? What happens to the families which the queen had arranged the festive for? The tension in the air was palpable, but within their embrace was a whisper of determination that transcended the disapproval around them. Prince Kofi, you cannot be serious, one of the noblemen shouted, breaking the stunned silence. You risk everything for a girl from the river? Kofi squared his shoulders, looking into the eyes of his accuser. I risk nothing more than a life without love. A kingdom built on alliances pales in comparison to a heart that beats for freedom and passion. Zuri has shown me the true essence of living, something the court cannot ever offer. As Kofi spoke, I noticed Zuri's expression, a mixture of disbelief and unwavering strength. She stood tall beside him, her presence steadying the prince as he faced the tumultuous cries of nobles and advisors alike. I may be just an orphan, she began, her voice rising above the din, but I am not without worth. Love knows no status or lineage. It binds us in ways the nobility cannot comprehend. The crowd stirred, and while many were still skeptical, I saw glimmers of support among the common folk who had gathered at the palace gates, witnessing the unfolding drama. They had watched Kofi's visits to the river, the genuine affection he held for Zuri, and in their hearts grew empathy for their plight. As the queen stepped forth, her regal presence commanded the room. "Kofi, you tread dangerous waters," she warned, her voice steady yet laced with an edge of sorrow. "You jeopardize the future of your people for a fleeting whim. An orphan cannot reign by your side." Kofi stepped closer to Zuri, protectively. "A fleeting whim would not inspire such passion, mother. Zuri is the embodiment of everything I wish for my future: courage, kindness, and fortitude. Do we not owe it to our people to lead with love?" There was a moment of silence that stretched on painfully, the tension thick enough to cut. I could sense the queen's heart struggling beneath the weight of tradition, but I could also see the pride she held for her son standing resolute before his people. "Let us not be quick to condemn," another noblewoman spoke up, her voice trembling but resolute. "We have been haunted by our past decisions, cloaked in the shadows of tradition. Perhaps it is time we embrace a new path, one guided by the heart and not merely by bloodlines." The murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, a swell of voices interlacing with Kofi's and Zuri's. The prince turned to his mother, pleading with his eyes. "Mother, let us create a kingdom that celebrates love above all else. It is not about who Zuri was, but who she is, someone who inspires greatness in me." With a drawn breath, the queen grappled with her role in this unfolding narrative. The fire in Kofi's eyes ignited something deep within her, a flicker of realization. In a world rife with division, perhaps this was their chance to unite a kingdom longing for hope. "Very well," she finally said, her voice steady yet tinged with vulnerability. "If this is your desire, Kofi, then I will support you. But know this, your love must be earned through deeds, not merely words. You will prove that you are worthy of this choice." At that declaration, the crowd erupted into a chorus of mixed emotions: relief, joy, and disbelief. Kofi embraced Zuri, their connection palpable, bound by the trials they would face together. And thus began their journey, not just as prince and orphan, but as two souls navigating the uncharted waters of love, defiance, and redemption. They became symbols of a new era, where love transcended lineage, and the choices of one could reshape the fabric of a kingdom. Months later, I gathered the villagers around the fire, sharing the story of Kofi and Zuri with fervor. They had committed themselves to bettering their community, striving to erase the stigmas attached to status and nobility. Together, they sought to enrich the lives of those around them, and in doing so, they thrived. Through the eyes of an orphan and a prince, we found our shared humanity, teaching us that love, indeed, reigns supreme. Under the vast African skies, where stories intertwine with the whispers of the wind, their legacy flourishes. Thank you for listening till we meet again. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to this channel in order to get more interesting stories from me. Thank you.